a clear and sunny day in Crescent City, California. The date is August 1986. Red Dixon wanted to take his 3 sons fishing to end summer before school starts up. The trip was supposed to last 4 days. Pamela felt especially worried this time. However, she thought it was because this was the first time that Caleb, who was 6 years of age, would be on the boat without her guidance. The name of the boat that Red Dixon and his 3 sons were using was named the Liebling. The Liebling was a 20-year-old shrimp boat. The entire crew of the Liebling consisted of Red Dixon, who was the captain, Mike Grogan, who was the first mate, Jason Dixon, who was 14 years old, Rusty Dixon, who was 18 years old, and Caleb Dixon, who was 6 years old. It is agreed upon by everyone who is connected to this case that everyone on the boat was looking forward to the trip and that there was nothing wrong. The Liebling left port and headed north to fish off Cape Blanco off the coast of Oregon. The Liebling was actually in a fleet of 2 other fishing boats. However, the name of the 2 other boats are unknown. The weather conditions for this trip couldn't have been any better. Reports are that the sea was calm with minimum wind and the seas were smooth. It is recorded that during the night of August 26, 1986, the Liebling disappeared. Although there was radio equipment on board the boat, there was no emergency message sent. As Robert Stack said, they were there 1 minute and gone the next. In the next 2 years since the Liebling and crew disappeared, no signs of wreckage from the boat has ever surfaced. When the Liebling went missing the following morning, a visual search was underway. The vessel was nowhere to be seen. At 10 a.m., the Coast Guard entered the search. No signs of the Liebling was located. Chuck Tweed talked about how the Liebling had 17,000 gallons of diesel. It would have definitely left a sheen on the ocean that could have been seen for miles. Oddly, there was no slick, no oil leakage, no nothing. Once an air and sea search was concluded and no signs of the ship or crew were found, it is hypothesized that Red Dixon may have taken his children back to Colombia, South America, where he lives with his wife and new family. Pamela does not believe that Red would have kidnapped his own children because they had it set up where he wanted to see his kids. All he would have to do is come over and visit them. According to her, the divorce was very amicable. The children understood what happened, and she just does not think that Red would have even kidnapped his own kids. According to Kim Gorgon, who is Mike Gorgon's widow, she does not believe that Mike would have ran off with Red Dixon and his children because he had 3 kids of his own. She thinks that if Red was going to kidnap his children, he would have had to kill Mike because he wouldn't have wanted anything to do with kidnapping the children or leaving his own children alone. According to Lorne Dixon, who is Red Dixon's brother, he doesn't think Red would have even kidnapped his children either. He openly said that if Red planned on kidnapping his own children, he would have dropped subtle signs to his brother, like, for example, that, oh, if I don't show up for a few months or a couple years, you may know why. But according to Lorne, Red never said anything like this. According to Lorne, both him and Red were on the Liebling till 2 a.m. the night before the boat left Crescent City, where they basically just talked about anything and everything underneath the stars. According to a fisherman from one of the other boats that was in the fleet, one of the officers was talking to Mike Gorgon, and Mike alerted them to look out for a tugboat that was pulling a freighter. Once again, it brings up the question of if the Liebling was hit by the freighter, why was there no signs of debris in the water? According to Troy Vaught, who was a fellow fisherman, when he was in the generalized area of where the Liebling was last seen a year later, his fishing net got hung up on something that was nearly 700 feet down on the ocean floor. When they were unable to to stay in that area because they were on a job. However, he made note of the area where this happened. A year later, when they went back again, they hit the same obstruction once more. They pulled up their fishing net to see what it was that they were caught on, and lo and behold, that they actually pulled up a shrimp net. DJ Cole, who is another fisherman, heard about the shrimp net that was pulled up via Troy Vaught's Voight's crew. He made his way to see Troy and take a look at the net. He was able to confirm that that shrimp net is the exact same net that he sold Red Dixon from his own boat. So if this turns out to be true, then the only piece of evidence that they have is the shrimp net. Who knows, maybe the rest of the Liebling could be in that generalized area where the shrimp net was located. It's been 30 years since Red Dixon, Mike Grogan, Jason Dixon, Rusty Dixon, and Caleb Dixon all went on that fateful fishing trip back in August of 1986. Whatever happened to them? Was it a case of the Liebling getting hit by a freighter and sinking? Could Red Dixon have actually kidnapped his own children and murdered his first mate while at it? Or did something else that we are unaware of actually happen? The mother of the Dixon boys, Pamela, she, in her heart, said that she would, has hope that her sons are okay, but she also has realized that they are probably never coming home. Only time may tell when we finally find the Liebling and whatever happened to the people who were on her. Okay, everyone, this is where I give my final thoughts about this case that I just told you about. This is one of those cases that no matter what you think may have happened, you gotta think about everything, and it really just it doesn't answer the question of what happened to the Liebling. This is really like one of those like where they literally just sucked off the face of the planet, It's been 30 years and literally no one has seen hide or hair of the 5 people who were on the Liebling back from August of 1986. It's really, it's hard to even try to figure out what happened, Okay, but here we go. This is where I'm going to talk about my theory about what could have happened. Okay, I want to make it known that these theories are just what they sound. They're just theories. I'm not saying that anything is proven. So when don't think what I'm saying is the truth. These are just the ideas of what I think could have happened to the crew and the Liebling. Okay, number one is what I think honestly happened, but then again, this causes, you have to think about everything, and it basically just going in a big circle, But anyway, number one, Liebling could have been hit by the freighter that they were warning the other ships in the fleet about. It's very possible that the Liebling hit that freighter. Now they said freighter or cargo ship or whatever it was, but it was a larger boat. Now, according to the video, if you find the video online, you'll hear what I'm talking about. It's possible that the freighter hit the Liebling and didn't even know it. Liebling being made out of mainly wood and everything probably broke up pretty quickly when the freighter hit it. And according to what people have said before in the video, it would be the equivalent of walking on something that you didn't even know that you walked on, like a matchbook or something. But then again, if it was hit by the freighter, where's the damage? Where was the the remains? There's no floating debris in the water. A boat gets destroyed, it's going to leave debris in the water. There's no oil, there was no wood, there was no nets, there was nothing that belonged to the ship was ever recovered, except for that shrimp net. So, number two, Red Dixon kidnapped his children. Even though everybody who knows Red Dixon said that he would never kidnap his own children, there's always a possibility. Maybe he just did not want to have to travel that far anymore to see his kids, and he decided that he would kidnap them. But if that's true, it's been 30 years. The oldest son, oh God, I think he'd be in his late 40s by now. So I'm pretty sure that he would have wanted to contact his mother, who odds are is in her 70s by now. I don't see the children wanting to stay away from their mother if they're as old as they are now. The youngest child, who was 6 when he disappeared, would be he'd be 1 year older than I am. So it really makes you wonder, But if he did kidnap his kids, odds are that they would have been identified and rescued by now. Nothing stays hidden forever. Things may take a long time to be found, but they end up always getting found. Number 3, pirates. Now, you don't really think of much about pirates in the Pacific Ocean. I don't know much about pirates if they were ever in the Pacific Ocean, but what's there to say that maybe, that they were attacked by pirates and the ship was captured? I'm not talking like the Pirates of the Caribbean pirates. I'm talking about like Somalian pirates. But I know, like I said, that's way down there and we're up here, So pirates, it's just an idea, Number 4. Now this is for the conspiracy theorists out there, and it could be, aliens. What if aliens actually just literally sucked up the boat and everything and just kidnapped them? I've heard of aliens doing, like possibly being responsible for kidnapping. Oh God, what's her name? The woman who flew. I can't remember her name now, but she flew on an airplane a long time ago, and she ended up disappearing. She was like the first female aviator. They believe aliens could have kidnapped her. So what's there to say that maybe they just kidnapped this group of people? Okay, here's where I think could have been a good betrayal. B-E-T-R-A-Y. Yeah, okay. Anyway, betrayal. Here's what I think could actually be a pretty good, legitimate idea. What if? Now, the fishing business is a multi-million-dollar business, hands down. What if, instead of the fleet wanting to share the profits of this major fishing excursion, What if they decided, hell, we're going to off the Liebling and the crew, and basically, take what we can and get rid of them? What's there to say that during the night when the Liebling's crew was asleep, the crew from the other two ships boarded the Liebling, incapacitated the crew, dumped the crew in the ocean, took the boat to some harbor down, in South America or whatever, and dismantled the ship? I'm not trying to be a paranoid, conspiracy theorist, but you gotta look at everything. And that would explain why the ship was never found. That would explain why nothing was, there was no oil or anything. Maybe it's just that the ship they took the ship down south beyond where the Coast Guard and our people thought that the Liebling would have been. Okay, that was it for this case on Unsolved Mysteries. I know it was a short case, but not all cases are going to be long. If you're watching this and you're wondering why I'm doing these kind of slideshow presentations, it's basically copyright censorship. Viacom, I think that's who it is that owns Unsolved Mysteries. They're very paranoid about the videos getting out. So by doing this, I'm doing it in a documentary kind of format, so it protects me. But I also want to get the cases out there, the cases that haven't been answered. I feel that the families of all these unanswered cases deserve to have their answers. So if you guys know if you've heard anything of the Liebling or its fate, contact your local law officials. Thank you very much for watching this, and stay tuned for the next episode.